Yeah, welcome. The thing about the CSSSA film program is that we explore narrative documentary, which is probably what you're working on in your high schools right now. However, we explore it with actual working artists in this. You saw the guest artist, Phil Lord and Jose Santos. Jose Santos especially is probably a perfect example of kind of where after this program you can leave. Santos never went, I call him Santos because he's one of my best friends, but he never went to college post CSSSA. He only found out about CSSSA by attending a meeting like this, where the department chair at the time was there giving a talk. And he's one of those students who really thrived in the program, thrived by being surrounded by his fellow cohorts and his fellow weirdos, as I like to call ourselves. Anyone who works in the arts, you're a weirdo. I just hate to break it to you. And he really had a good time, and he discovered who he was as not only an artist, but who he was as a person. And now he's here editing for Chef's Table, episodes you've probably seen, working on Apple, making climate change documentaries involving Greta Thunberg. And he's just doing everything. And that all came from the initial spark of being in the program. So yeah, this is not going to be your run-of-the-mill high school class where we'll watch, Marvel movies or anything like that. So if that's what you're kind of interested in, this is not the program for you. This is going to be a program that is very competitive. I can tell you that right now. People who leave this program, they get into USC, they get into UCLA, they get into NYU, they get into all those schools. And they don't necessarily have the best grades. I didn't have the best grades in high school. I can tell you that right now. And I'm sure a lot of you are worried about that right now. You're like, oh, I got like a 2.5 or something. Like, relax, you welcome. Once again, you're surrounded by your fellow weirdos. And so it's kind of a place where we want to show you who you are and what your voice means. And I think that's so much more important than learning maybe even like in the Instagram post, it said story over equipment. And that's something that we kind of emphasize on. A lot of you, if we attended the physical campus space, you're going to have equipment that might even be better than what we have in inventory. However, it's your story. It's your story that's going to get you into the USC, into the UCLA, into NYU. It's going to get you these grants, these scholarships that are going forward in your colleges. If you can't craft a story, then you're not really saying anything. And that's what our program's all about. It's about developing the voice of the artist that's inside of you, not necessarily focusing too heavily on technical craft, which you will also learn. So for instance, tonight I'm using 3-point lighting, technically 4, since I have 2 lights in the background as my lights back there to distinguish me from the background. I have a fill to my left and my key lights on my right. So you'll learn this kind of stuff in class, but really what we're going to push is to encourage you to listen to the voice inside of you and to make sure that that voice is heard. And that's also an important part of the application process. If you're coming in and you're just telling the same story that everyone else is telling, I can't distinguish who you are and what your voice means. That's going to make it a very difficult time for you to put your application to the top. The top applicants are always the students who let us in a little bit of their life. I understand you're teenagers, it's terrifying. I can tell you a secret, as an adult, it's still terrifying to let people in on who you are. You don't know how you're going to be accepted. You don't know if you're oversharing and all that good stuff. However, in this instance, and in this case, I say it's best to take a risk. So let me give you a brief overview of the rundown of classes. We have a narrative class, we have a documentary class. Those are kind of the backbones of the program. They're taught by 2 working filmmakers. They will expose you to works that you've probably not been privy to seeing yet. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may already have the Criterion collection and you have all of that good stuff. But we're going to discuss how those films are made and what they give us, the meaning that they give us. But more importantly, I think, and kind of looked over, is our experimental class. This is something that's unique to CSSSA. Our experimental film instructor is an amazing artist and someone who's going to push you and introduce you to items that you did not know were possible in being a filmmaker. Have you ever thought about making a film just based off a screen recording of your computer screen? You may have thought that that couldn't be a real film. That can 100% be a real film. What about finding found footage or archival footage off YouTube and stringing that together and adding in experimental music cues and working in sound design to create this conglomerate of images and sounds that were once distant from each other and creating something brand new out of it? That's something that you can do in the experimental class. And then our visiting artists, like I said, we have Jose Santos, we have people like Phil Lord. Phil Lord actually came in 2 weeks after he was fired off of the Solo movie. And he asked that we do not do any phone recordings or any kind of special recordings. Every single student agreed to it. And because of that, he was able to give us a very honest overview of what life is like as a extremely professional and highly talented and regarded filmmaker. And you know what happened the next year? He won an Academy Award for Into the Spider-Verse. He could not tell us he was working on Into the Spider-Verse at that time, but he was able to be honest about having a working relationship with Disney and getting publicly fired with his best friend, but how he was able to kind of grow from that and take some of that anger and that hurt and put it into the Spider-Verse film the next year. And Jose Santos, like I already talked about him. I could spend the entire night speaking about him. And my goal and my bet is that many of you will end up being like a Jose Santos once you leave the program. Some of our former alumni are now working on the Space Jam film. One, Jeremy Philippe, he is now a renowned French music video director who has worked on French Netflix and a bunch of other stuff. We have award-winning artists all over the place. Amanda Stenberg was a student of ours in the program not too long ago. I can tell you a story about when her computer crashed in the final week. And instead of giving up, crying, and stopping Amanda's feet, they instead decided to start over. That's what this is about. It's about not giving up. It's about persevering. No matter what technical glitches may come your way. It's about just keep going and keep pushing yourself and striving to make the best work that's interesting to you. And the work should be interesting to you first. Don't make work where you think I'm going to enjoy it. And that's another thing I'll say about your application. Don't submit something that you think I'm going to like. Submit something that you are interested in. Because if you're interested in it, then it's going to have a unique voice. And that unique voice is going to come through, and I'm going to be actually interested in that manner. I want to know, I'm just going to look at my Zoom box right now. I'm going to see, what does Tuesday have to say? What does Mimi have to say? What does Athena have to say? What does Nina have to say? I don't want to butcher your name, Lyra. I'm just going to use your last name. I don't want to butcher that first name, so I'm just going to use your last name, Lyra. What does Lyra have to say? That's what I'm interested in. Okay, so think of it in that manner. I think that covers that first slide there. All right, film assignment A. I'm going to take a little tea. What is the role you want filmmaking to play in your life? If you want to just be a multimillionaire and you want to just make Michael Bay movies, this is not the program for you. I can tell you that right now. But if you're interested in having your voice exposed and being vulnerable on the screen and reaching out to people who could be thousands of miles away from you, we're in a very interesting time right now, right? We're all interconnected by the internet. Obviously, you guys are Zoomers. I'm a millennial, so we were already on the internet, but there's a new opportunity that is approaching where you can kind of evolve culture from your couch in a weird way. A story where you think no one's going to relate to you, you think it's deeply only personal to yourself. You may find that a kid in Rwanda is agreeing with everything you're saying, shaking their head as they watch your film. And that's kind of the importance of what do you want filmmaking to play in your life. So don't tell me I want to win 8,000 Oscars and make $25 billion. Like, not interested in that. I want to know what you think you can bring to society. I want to know what you think your films and how they can evoke emotion and evoke conversation. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know about filmmaking. Okay. This is just me wanting to get to know you. Usually it's very much a blank canvas of application that I'm looking at. So this is just my way of getting to know what you're interested in. I'm not going to hate too hard on your top choices. If you're a Nolan fanboy, be a Nolan fanboy, own it. If you're a Tarantino fanboy, own it. I mean, but obviously if like Justice League is your favorite movie of all time, we can have a conversation about that once you get into the program. I have a very good memory, so I will probably remember what you say, but I ask you to be truthful. So if Justice League is your favorite movie, or the new Wonder Woman 1984, or Battleship, I guess pretty much any DC movie, we're definitely going to have a conversation. Athena, are you a DC person? We'll find out later. I guess you can just wait to chat, but I'll dunk on you later. Don't worry. So yeah, this is just my way of getting to know who you are. what you're interested in and what you're watching. Like if you're into YouTube, tell me. If you're into Jake Paul, I guess, tell me, or any of those kind of I wouldn't call them filmmakers, but any of those kind of influencers, let me know. I think there's an opportunity to evolve the idea of filmmaking just being someone who makes a bunch of pretentious films that play at a film festival that no one's ever going to see. I love the idea of democratizing filmmaking and putting things on YouTube, even though we know YouTube has corporate censorship, or having a Twitch stream where there's a Twitch stream right now that's kind of like an online film festival. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called Cathode or something like that, where almost nightly they stream a bunch of experimental and filmmakers that you probably wouldn't have an opportunity to learn about. And they just stream it on Twitch. And it's kind of like a mini film festival every night. I think TikTok is a great platform to make a filmmaking thing. I think, although, I mean, obviously there's mental health concerns with TikTok with the addiction and all that, but I still think it's a strong platform to stamp something out on. So it's interesting, these tools that we can use. We can use our phones to make films now. And I think that's a great thing as we've lowered the bar of entry into being a filmmaker. So yeah, that's why I'm interested in what kind of television. I just want to know a little bit more about you. So discuss a filmmaker whom you find inspiring. This is a little bit of kind of touched on it earlier, but this is kind of like, just because someone makes your favorite television show or your favorite movie doesn't necessarily mean that's someone who inspires you. You know, I May Destroy You is probably the best piece of anything I've seen in the last few years. And I think that her story is extremely inspiring. And that's someone who I would write about if I was in your shoes, for my own personal views. Don't just write about her. Don't write about Michaela like that if that's not your favorite. But I find her ability to be honest, and not only be honest, but use her honesty in a unique way to write her story and rewrite it in a manner that's very comfortable for what she's trying. She's comfortable at talking about something that's extremely uncomfortable, but is necessary to talk about. And that's why I find her so inspiring. And that's why I would write about her, or I'd write about Agnes Varda, who I think was a complete weirdo who made the strangest films and gets left behind because everyone's a Godard stan. But I'm not the biggest Godard fanboy. So, yeah. Okay, this is the big one. This is your application film. This is kind of what I've been leading to and talking about briefly, kind of the whole session so far. Please make sure you tell me what you did on this film. I cannot tell you, every year someone submits a film where they do either it's not titled, there's no titles in the film, which is strange. Why would you make something and not put your name on it? Or there's just simply like they don't put it in the description what they did, what their role was. So I don't know if you're the writer director if you don't put a title or you don't put that in the description somewhere. But this is your opportunity to kind of say what you want to say. You don't have to be a veteran filmmaker. Most of you are probably 16, 17. So although your generation has definitely been making films longer than a lot of other generations, but you don't have to be this already this amazing and fully cooked filmmaker. A lot of our students that come out of the program and shine, they made their first film ever in life as their application film. So please do not be fearful about making this film. If you only have a phone to make your film, make a phone film. If you only have your computer screen to make a film, use your computer screen, iPad, etc. You don't need to shoot on Super 8 or Super 16 and Arri Alexa, anything like that. In fact, if you shoot on an Arri Alexa, you're like, why do you want to come to this program? You obviously have money. Like, you don't need this program at all. Why are you coming here? Or if you use a drone shot, just to have a drone shot to kind of show me, you would be surprised how many boys like to put drone shots in their films just to kind of, show off that they have a drone. And it's like, okay, this actually takes away from the narrative. So yeah, that's what I would say. Please also speak from your experience. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can only make a film that you've lived. That's not true at all. But if you're going to make a film about drug dealers from, let's say, the Bay, and you live in Palo Alto, and your parents both work for Google or Stanford or something like that, it's not going to be a very authentic voice, right? So make something that's authentically you, is what I would say there. Okay. So I want to know, why do you want to come to CSSSA? Oh, this is returning students. Yeah. Why do you want to be back at CSSSA? We're always a little bit harder on these students, I think, in the criteria because we like to give an opportunity for new people. However, if you really can flesh out something like a good motive for why you want to be back at CSSSA, why you want to be in this department, like what does this department mean to you, and what will this experience mean to you going forward? I think that could be a great essay. Um, yeah, so once again, you must be new assignments, show what growth you've had post CSSSA. That's so important. If you just sat around for, 8 months, kind of like not doing anything, obviously we're in a pandemic situation, but no one attended last year anyways. It's good to see growth. Yeah. And recommendation letter from the prior CSSSA faculty. Yeah. That's pretty self-explanatory, I feel.
Great. Thank you, Frederick. So I'll just end the slide presentation with a couple of additional items. If you have questions, you're certainly welcome to email any number of different email addresses, including my own. I've put that on the slide. comments@cisa.ca.gov is the general question email for CISA. And then you can find us on a variety of social media. Our Instagram, I've put there for you if you're not already following us. So check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and there's a few students trying to join. Let them in. And then last but not least, I wanted to make sure that we spoke just a minute or two about the COVID-19 pandemic and our plans for CISA 2021. We are committed to running a program this summer that's either virtually or in person. We hope and we're gearing up for an exciting summer program in person. But if the pandemic restrictions by the state of California and LA County would hinder us from opening up, we will have a robust online experience for you. And so you can become a part of CISA one way or another in summer 2021.